The Galactic Union's massive war training station was located in one of the most dangerous regions of the galaxy, the Arcturus system. This station hosted a war training program where the most talented students from every species participated. Throughout the training, students would face brutal tests and prove themselves among the strongest warriors of their respective races. However, this time, the program included one human student who caught everyone's attention: Jeremy Callan. Humans were generally regarded as weak and fragile in the Galactic Union, since they were thought to be behind other species in terms of physical strength and technology. A human entering this prestigious program became a topic of great curiosity. The entire galaxy was eager to see how long this human could endure in the program. From the moment Jeremy arrived at the station, he could feel the cold stares of the other students. His simple combat attire paled in comparison to the advanced armor and exotic weapons of the other species. One of the Xerics standing next to him, named Vren, looked at him with a cool expression and smirked slightly. Jeremy noticed the look, but didn't respond. The cold metallic walls of the station, the reflected lights, and the massive hangars prepared for war made it clear that everyone here was being closely observed. Commander Thurn stood before a massive holographic map and began speaking in a booming voice. "Today, we have gathered the best warriors from every species on this station. But remember, survival here depends not just on physical strength, but also on intelligence and strategy. Your first test will take place on the desert planet of Arcturus. There, you must prove both your physical endurance and strategic thinking." The difficulty of the test was so high that even the strongest species hesitated. Jeremy took a deep breath and joined the other students. Before the test began, everyone was checking their gear, adjusting their weapons and armor. However, all Jeremy had was a simple knife and a light shield device. When the ships dropped them on the planet's surface, the scorching heat made it difficult for everyone to move. The temperature was so intense it could melt even metallic armor. Jeremy looked for a rock to hide under for shade and began observing the other students' strategies. Everyone had a different approach. Vren tried to outrun the others using his speed, while Morn, a massive Urak, stomped across the terrain, crushing everything in his path. But Jeremy didn't rush. His strength lay in his calm patience, waiting for the right moment to act. After a while, as the group moved through the desert, they were suddenly attacked. Giant creatures native to the planet, towering 4 meters tall and covered in thick armor, burst from the ground like death machines, targeting the students. Vren dodged the first creature with agility and stabbed it with an energy blade in what he thought was a weak spot. But the creature didn't die. It only grew more enraged. Jeremy scanned his surroundings, trying to figure out the creature's weaknesses. While the other students fought them head-on, exhausting their strength, Jeremy stayed hidden behind a rock, observing. Then he noticed something. Attacking the creature's heads seemed ineffective, but there was a small gap in their chest armor. Quietly, Jeremy moved behind the creatures and carefully placed his simple knife into the weak point. With a single precise motion, he brought the creature down. The massive beast collapsed under Jeremy's unexpected strike. When the other students realized what had happened, they were shocked. Jeremy wasn't relying on brute strength, but on strategic thinking to defeat the monsters. But the danger wasn't over yet. Some of the students started paying attention to Jeremy's tactics, while others continued to fight the way they always had. At that moment, Morn, with his enormous size, slammed a creature to the ground with one mighty blow, but his energy was quickly depleting. Jeremy shouted to Morn, trying to guide him. "The weak spot. Aim for the small gap in their chest." Morn hesitated at first, but he trusted Jeremy and delivered a strike exactly where he was told. The creature groaned and collapsed. Morn looked back at Jeremy, nodding in gratitude. He had never expected a human to make such clever moves. The struggle for survival in the scorching desert had tested Jeremy's intelligence and patience. While the other students relied on their physical strength and quickly became exhausted, Jeremy had carefully observed his surroundings and adjusted his strategies accordingly. When they finally completed the first test, Commander Thurn had been watching them from afar. Even he was impressed by Jeremy's performance. As the students returned to the training station, everyone looked at Jeremy differently. He was no longer just a human. He had proven himself a strategic master capable of standing among the galaxy's toughest warriors. Commander Thurn gave his final instructions. This was only the beginning. The upcoming tests will push your physical and mental limits even further. But remember, it's not just muscle, but also intelligence, that will make you victorious. A spark of determination lit up in Jeremy's eyes. Although he had been underestimated in the galactic arena, he had proven himself here. The challenges ahead would push both him and the other students to their limits, but Jeremy's place in the galaxy was now solidified. Jeremy Callan, representing the human race in the Galactic Union's war training program, had started to garner attention after the first test. His intelligence and strategic moves, in particular, earned him respect among the other students. But this was only the beginning. A much more challenging test lay ahead. This time, not only physical strength but also tactical thinking and teamwork would be crucial. Commander Thurn had gathered the students in front of a giant holographic map. He explained that their next simulation would take place on Barnea, one of the harshest planets in the Arctero system. Barnea was a barren wasteland, battered by fierce winds and frequent radioactive storms. Surviving there required much more than just combat skills. Additionally, they would be fighting in groups this time. Commander Thurn fixed his stern gaze on the students as he spoke. In this mission, not only your individual abilities but also your capacity for teamwork will be tested. During your time on Barnea, the objective is for one group to outmaneuver the other. The winning group will complete the simulation successfully. The other will be deemed a failure. Jeremy squinted at the map. Unlike the other students, he always made sure not to overlook even the smallest detail. In the first group were Vren, Morn, and another Xerix named Rella. In the second group were Jeremy, Tyra, a Koroth, and Elrin, an Overlax. Each group had different strengths, but Jeremy's only focus was on what strategy he would employ. After boarding the ships and landing on the planet's surface, the students immediately felt the harshness of Barenia's atmosphere. The wind was bone-chilling, and even inside their armor, they could feel the oppressive weight of the planet's environment. Intermittent flashes of green and blue lightning streaked across the sky, signaling the approach of radioactive storms. As Jeremy's group advanced cautiously across the terrain, they scanned their surroundings carefully. Any wrong move could land them in a trap. Tyra, with her powerful physique, moved quickly across the rugged landscape, keeping Jeremy covered. Elrin, on the other hand, took a more technical approach, tracking energy signals in the area. But Jeremy was focused on something else, anticipating the other group's movements. After progressing about 2 kilometers, Jeremy climbed a hill and spotted Vren's group moving below in a wide valley. They hadn't noticed him. Jeremy knew he had to turn this moment to his advantage. He quickly turned to Elrin and laid out his plan. "A radioactive storm is approaching," Jeremy said, pointing at the map. "We won't be able to advance through it, but we can make sure they walk right into our trap without ever seeing us." Elrin thought for a moment and nodded. "The storm will disable the sensors, but we can still track them using energy signals." Jeremy's plan was simple: to catch the enemy group off guard once the storm passed and gain the upper hand quickly. As Vren's team took shelter from the radioactive storm, Jeremy's group quietly advanced towards them. As the last wave of the storm passed, Vren's team emerged from their shelter. At that moment, Jeremy's group launched a rapid assault. Elrin, wielding a high-tech laser rifle, fired the first shot, piercing Rella's armor. Although her shield immediately activated, the unexpected attack had thrown them off balance. Vren, thanks to his agility, managed to dodge the attacks and quickly moved towards Jeremy. But Jeremy had anticipated his speed and was ready. With a knife strike, he aimed for Vren's arm, but Vren dodged the attack at the last second with a roll. Jeremy, however, continued to fight with a tactic designed to neutralize Vren's speed, trying to draw him into a narrow space. Meanwhile, Tyra and Morn were locked in combat. Morn's enormous strength made it difficult for Tyra to land any hits, but she used her speed to outmaneuver him and strike repeatedly. The clash of these two giants shook the ground as they fought for dominance. While continuing his duel with Vren, Jeremy's mind was constantly forming new plans. If he could lure Vren into a smaller area, he could negate the advantage of his speed. Quickly taking cover behind a rock, Jeremy set up a trap. When Vren followed, he landed a powerful blow with his shield to Vren's chest, sending him sprawling. At the same time, Elrin had gained the upper hand against Rella, forcing her to retreat to conserve energy. Jeremy's group had caught their opponents off guard, executing a flawless ambush. But the fight wasn't over yet. Vren, gathering his strength for one last attack, prepared to strike Jeremy. However, while Jeremy had kept him occupied, Elrin had already circled around behind him. With a burst of energy, Vren was knocked to the ground. The battle was over. As the battle concluded, Jeremy's team had emerged victorious. Commander Thurn, who had been watching the entire encounter, was impressed. Jeremy's strategies and the cohesion of his team earned the respect of everyone watching the simulation. The human student had shown that he possessed not only physical strength, but also remarkable mental acuity. Commander Thurn turned to the students once again. Today, we saw the importance of not just physical power, but strategic intelligence as well. Jeremy Callan and his team demonstrated an excellent display of tactical warfare. This is just the beginning. In real wars, plans like these are what save lives. Jeremy took a deep breath after their victory. Just as after passing the first test, he had once again stood out. But the real challenge lay ahead in the even more difficult tests to come. He had already proven himself in the Galactic Union, but this journey was far from over. A gleam of determination returned to his eyes. He was going to show the entire galaxy just how powerful humanity could be. After successfully passing the challenging test on Barnea, Jeremy Callan and his team had become legends among all the galactic students. It was now undeniable that humans excelled not only in endurance and physical strength, but also in strategic intelligence. However, this was not the last challenge they would face. The final test of the Galactic Union's war training program would assess not only their individual skills, but also the capacity of all races to work together. Commander Thurn gathered the students once again and opened a holographic map to explain the final test. This time, the test was a simulation of the Draconis system, one of the most perilous war zones in the galaxy. Draconis was a deadly region rife with both enemy forces and natural hazards. In this ultimate mission, the students were to form a mixed group and work together to infiltrate an enemy base. This would be the final test to showcase all their skills. Commander Thurn's voice was stern and resolute. In this test, individual achievements will no longer suffice. All races must be able to work together and act in unison against a real threat. We will test you not against each other, but against a true adversary. This time, Jeremy was joined by Tyra, Elrin, Vren, and Rella. Each had unique abilities, but in this final task, how much they could trust one another would determine everything. The moment they set foot in the Draconis system, a dark and dangerous atmosphere enveloped them. The sky was covered with dense clouds, and bright purple lightning flashed intermittently. As they moved across the terrain, The weather shifted constantly, with cold winds leaving a dark mist in their wake. Even natural hazards could be deadly for a warrior here. Jeremy examined the map carefully. Their target was an enemy base located at the northern tip of the system. However, the area surrounding the base was filled with heavily armed sentinels and moving mines. Additionally, the enemies had undetectable underground tunnels. This was not a place that could be captured with a simple attack. Strategy was more important than ever. Vren climbed a ridge with his usual agility to scout. There are enemy movements, but the real danger lies in the mines. Advancing is nearly impossible. Jeremy's mind raced. It was impossible to launch a direct attack. Instead, they needed to find a way to break the enemy's defenses. He decided to formulate a plan by utilizing the abilities of the other races. "Vren, can you locate the mines?" Jeremy asked. Vren shook his head after a few seconds of concentration. "I can identify the location of the mines, but some of them are mobile, so I can't predict exactly where they'll be." Jeremy clarified his plan. "Elrin, can you disable the mines with your sensors?" Elrin thought for a moment before replying. "I can place jammers up to a certain distance, but I can't cover the entire area." Jeremy expected this answer. "Okay, Vren, you and Rella will go ahead to distract the enemy patrols. Elrin and I will set the jammers from the back to create a safe corridor for passage. Tyra, you'll cover our backs." The plan was ready. Once everyone understood their roles, the team led by Jeremy sprang into action. Vren and Rella quickly approached the enemy patrols, silently eliminating a few targets. When the enemy realized that 2 small teams had gone missing, they began to mobilize with great force. Just as Jeremy had planned, their attention was completely diverted. Vren's agility and Rella's sharpshooting successfully maintained this ruse. Meanwhile, Jeremy and Elrin had begun to advance by placing jammers in the heavily guarded area. Thanks to Elrin's technical expertise, most of the enemy mines were neutralized. However, the mobile mines posed a constant threat. Just as one was about to explode right in front of Jeremy, Tyra swiftly pulled him aside and neutralized the mine before it detonated. "Thanks, Tyra. For a moment there, I thought it was the end for me," Jeremy said, smiling. Tyra merely nodded. "We have to work together. We can't win on our own." Once again, Jeremy realized how true these words were. Collaborating with other races was proof of how powerful humanity could be in this galaxy. The team had approached the base. However, the enemy forces had been alerted to their movements. Heavily armed units and war machines were deployed around the base. Against the enemy's superior technology, Jeremy's team faced an uphill battle. Jeremy quickly assessed the situation. "We can't engage this many enemies directly. We'll attack from different angles to divert their attention. Tyra, you'll charge in from the front. Draw their attention. Vren and Rella, you'll flank from the sides to break their defenses. Elrin and I will infiltrate the base through the back entrance." Tyra raised her massive battle hammer and charged toward the enemy, letting out a fierce war cry. A colossal explosion echoed as Tyra single-handedly took down many enemies, drawing their attention to herself. But the enemy forces were overwhelming, firing from all sides. Meanwhile, Vren and Rella, in perfect harmony, began to break the enemy's defenses from the flanks. Vren's agile movements and Rella's sharp shooting quickly scattered the enemy lines. Jeremy and Elrin managed to sneak in through the back door of the base. However, a greater threat awaited them inside. The base commander, clad in a massive battlesuit, was waiting for them. Jeremy knew this was no ordinary battle. It was a fight for survival. As Jeremy and Elrin stood before the commander, the suit's bright red eyes were fixed on them. The commander wielded a colossal energy sword capable of obliterating all foes with a single strike. Elrin quickly prepared the energy disruptor and aimed for the suit's systems. But the commander lunged forward, throwing Elrin aside. Seeing Elrin injured, Jeremy sprang into action. As the armored commander charged at Jeremy, he swiftly dodged to the side and scanned for weak points in the suit. No matter how powerful the armor, there was always a weak spot. Jeremy spotted the energy transfer system of the suit. Quickly pulling out his laser weapon, he aimed for that point and fired. The suit's energy system crashed, slowing the commander's movements. Jeremy seized the opportunity. He lunged forward, reached the control panel of the suit, and delivered a final blow to disable the commander. As the commander collapsed, Jeremy understood that victory belonged to them. When the battle was over, Jeremy and his team had successfully infiltrated the base and defeated the enemy forces. They had completed the ultimate test in the Draconis system. Taking a deep breath, Jeremy felt the fatigue of victory wash over him. As he looked around, he saw Tyra, Vren, Rella, and Elrin quietly celebrating their triumph. Everyone was exhausted, but they had succeeded. Commander Thurn communicated with the team via holographic screen. He wore a faint smile, a rare expression for him. "You have successfully completed the test. You have shown outstanding performance in one of the Union's most challenging simulations. You are now among the galaxy's finest warriors." Thurn's tone remained serious as he honored them. "This program tested not only your individual skills, but also your ability to work together. And you have succeeded as different races coming together from every corner of the galaxy." Jeremy listened carefully to Thurn's words, but what intrigued him most was how impressive humanity had become in the eyes of the Galactic Union. Humanity had transcended being a despised species and had become a respected power. At the end of the test, all students were gathered together. The faces of students from every race bore the marks of victory and solidarity. Everyone had realized how powerful a weapon collaboration could be throughout this process. However, the biggest surprise lay in the way the other races viewed the human students. They no longer saw them merely as new participants, but as powerful warriors and leaders. Elrin approached Jeremy and lightly squeezed his arm. "It was truly an honor to fight alongside you. I never expected humans to be this powerful." Jeremy smiled in response to the compliment. "It was the same for us. We are all different, but when we work together, we are the greatest force in the galaxy." Vren and Rella joined them. Vren spoke with his usual energy in his eyes. "Who knows, if we win another battle together, the galaxy might start talking about us." Jeremy laughed at Vren's words. "Maybe so, but for now, we deserve a little rest." Following the final test, the Galactic Union had acknowledged the power of humanity and officially recognized its place in the training program. Humans had now secured a permanent spot in galactic training programs and proven how strong they were to the entire galaxy. After the graduation ceremony of the training program, Jeremy, Tyra, Vren, Rella, and Elrin were honored before all the galactic students and instructors. There was a shining light in everyone's eyes, the power of unity and solidarity. After the ceremony, Jeremy and his team would scatter to the far corners of the galaxy. But one thing was certain: each of them had left an unforgettable mark in the galaxy. This team, which had fought and triumphed together, would always be remembered in the galaxy's future wars. As Jeremy gazed at the stars after the ceremony, he thought about what had been accomplished. Humanity had truly proved itself in the galaxy, and while many challenges awaited them in the future, one thing was clear: the power of humanity would be a force to reckon with.